Why honey? What is the Jewish obsession with honey during the high holidays? It is a long-lasting tradition that beginning the Jewish New Year's, throughout the whole holiday season, we use honey. We dip apples in honey. We dip a challah bread in honey. What is it about honey that is so important, that holds such a beautiful place in Judaism? Well, if we know the journey of honey, it is very different than many other foods out there. First of all, in order to eat kosher food, the kosher food must come from a kosher animal, such as the only milk that's kosher comes from a kosher cow or a kosher goat, etc. But we cannot drink milk from any other animal because the animal's not kosher. What's interesting is a bee is not kosher. We're not allowed to eat insects. Insects is prohibited, it's not kosher. So how can we eat honey? The answer is because the way God wondrously created the bee, He created the bee with two different stomachs. One stomach uses it for its own digestive needs. The other stomach is to be able to process the honey. When the bee collects the nectar from the flowers and the various garbage vegetables that are out there, etc., the bee then brings the pollen into that specific stomach. Together with the bee's enzymes that creates the honey, the journey of how the honey ends up in the honeycomb, ends up at our dish plate, goes through a tremendous transformation. It's just a fascinating creation only God could have designed. And we know that our whole ecosystem, we know that all of our food is so dependent on the pollination of the bees. We must keep the bees around, otherwise we wouldn't have anything. The exception is wheat. Wheat doesn't need any pollination, but almost everything else does. That is the miracle of the bee, and the way they process the honey and the way the teamwork to make it happen so we should have honey is just tremendous. This is our obsession with honey. You see, Rosh Hashanah is the head of the Jewish year, is not only about celebrating New Year's, the new beginning, it's also about celebrating change. Every year, we are given the opportunity to introspect into our self-being, look in the past, and think about how we have to be in the future. And in the past, there are a lot of things we have to let go. And in the future, there are a lot of new resolutions we need to jump on. The honey teaches us the transformation that a bee is able to transform pollen into edible honey. It takes a tremendous amount of effort, but at the end of the day, the end result is sweetness. The same thing with us. We need to transform. We always need to be in constant transformation. The battle is daily. The battle is continuously between good and evil forces who try to lead us astray from the right path. And yet we know what we need to do and what is correct. And that is why on Rosh Hashanah we dip everything in honey, beginning the New Year's, to remind us that we too need to go through a transformation. Every year God gives us an opportunity to change our ways and embrace better ways and greater ways. And ultimately, that would be the sweetness as sweet as honey. One last lesson about honey is that once it's transformed into honey, the honey never spoils. Recently in Israel, they uncovered a jug with 2,000-year-old honey that was still usable. The lesson learned that when we make a change for the good and we live with it, then it becomes sweet and will never spoil. May God help us with our transformation for the better, to be able to be God's ambassadors to make this world a better place, because we are all sweet as honey. That's why Israel is blessed with the land flowing with milk and honey. May you all have a sweet new year and always be sweet and honey and never spoil. God bless you. God loves you.